Hi, listeners. Welcome to your daily cup of coffee with Charu, where hopefully, with a hot cup of coffee, we discuss how to tackle the day and the week ahead based on the astrological aspects that are dominating the sky. Yesterday, I briefed you on the Mars Neptune square that's dominating the sky this week, and it's happening at the point where the solar eclipse of 10th of June will bring about a new beginning. We all have been discussing solar eclipses bring about fated changes. The changes that would normally take years and years to happen, solar eclipses bring about that all of a sudden. But there's a build up to the solar eclipse, and this aspect is very much part of a build up to the solar eclipse of 10th of June in Gemini, and Mars is right now standing at the very degrees where that eclipse is about to happen. Today, after a brief introduction, we're going to dig into your specific zodiac sign and see how this impacts you. You can catch me on YouTube as well as across the podcast platforms Anchor, Spotify. I will leave the links in description for you so you can access this episode also through the podcast platforms. My name is Charu and I'm your host on this journey. So let's dig in. As I mentioned in my post and podcast yesterday, Mars square Neptune will become exact on 9th of April and it would be felt most of this week. Mars is our drive and Neptune tends to slow it down. But there is a hindrance for a more effective and inspired action that this aspect is trying to highlight to us before we go blazing into the eclipse season with a fated shift in our life. The 10th June eclipse would be starting a new chapter at the point where this aspect is happening right now. So, understanding this aspect and the dissonance that it is creating this week, the purpose behind that dissonance is very important for you to have the right kind of beginning on 10th of June solar eclipse. North Node or Rahu has already visited and activated this eclipse in January of 2021. We have already experienced the activation of this new beginning, whether we are aware of it or not. Some of the things might be happening behind the scene and we may not be fully aware of. They will fully come out, and the physical manifestation of it will fully come out to light during the June eclipses. But the activation of the eclipse already began in January of 2021. Mars, right now, standing at that very point in Gemini, dares us to do the right thing before we enter the physical manifestation phase of that period, of that eclipse. With Neptune, Mars is trying to put the inspiration behind our action, the right inspiration behind the actions that we're going to take. A collective goal, some faith behind our actions, and making sure that we're going after something with the right purpose behind it. Sometimes we reach where we thought we wanted to go, only to realize later on that is not the destination we truly wanted to get to. And Neptune is trying to make sure that we understand that what we are going after is truly our purpose, truly our desire. Neptune dissolves social, political, religious, and personal boundaries as well that block our collective growth. And they block the birth of a new societal ideal. So, Neptune is trying to dissolve all of those hindrances and those boundaries that block that birth within ourselves as well. It teaches us to have faith in the unknown. So, if we are trying to take the practical route, the easy route, Neptune is going to try to stop us in the tracks. It teaches us to have faith in the unknown, to aim higher, aim for a higher purpose, higher road. It teaches us to love unconditionally, allow the barriers to disintegrate, and act out of a place of pure inspiration to contribute to the society versus for ego gratification or for fitting in into the society and our surrounding. It undermines the success which comes without service to the collective and without service to your own soul. It is trying to keep you honest to your own soul's purpose. Nothing is done fully for altruistic purposes, but Neptune demands that our motivations aren't inspired by pure ego boost or societal pressure. A very creative aspect is currently happening, and it makes us sensitive to both our soul's purpose as well as to the collective need and styles. So, what we create is made out of pure love. It is made from a place of wanting to channel our soul. And there is an element of self transcendence over here where we don't necessarily keep ourselves and our ego gratification as the front of what we are trying to do. What we hold at the front of our mind when we are going after something, when Neptune is aspecting it, is a higher purpose. And that is bound to touch others on a deeper in a deeper way. And it will serve the collective in a much, much more meaningful way. So let's put some meat on the bones now by looking at your sign. And as usual, check your rising sign. That is the key indicator. And if you're able to, check the sun and the moon sign for a fuller picture. But rising sign would be the key indicator for how this aspect is playing out for you. So let's dig in. Hi Leo, for you specifically, the 10th of June eclipse is bringing a new phase in your social network, in your friend space, possibly a new start in the friends that you have, or it could be a new fan base, gains, popularity, large group, and a new stream of income linked to a social network or linked to your social status. This is your acquaintances or a set of tribe that you're going in with towards a new long term goal. And this could also be a friend who's going on a new journey, who's involved with you and possibly taking you with them. Leo, we are about to enter a new phase in your social status and connections with the solar eclipse, and a phase whose seeds were already sown, possibly through an event in January 2021 or end of December 2020, either consciously or unconsciously. But the fated event linked to that new start has already happened. And the physical manifestation of that new start, the physical rollout and knowing about it and launching it will happen with the June eclipse. This is new platform, new fan base, a new very influential connection, a elite friend, a social or humanitarian new goal or vision that you along with your friend or your tribe are looking to launch or set up. It's gainful and influential. But more importantly, it takes you and your friends or your group to a fun journey. It's the right time to make those connections with Mars in that part of your chart, making a positive aspect with you. It's driving you to make those connections, set up the groundwork in terms of social media and content, and the right time to take on a more expansive vision of where you are going and who all are going with you on this journey. A lot of energy would be going into people, into connections, making an impact. With Mars, sometimes it's not the pleasant journey. Sometimes those connections might have friction, which are coming up. Avoid ego conflicts when this happens because they are very evident to happen when Mars is here, especially in between doing, especially when you know what's the right thing to do because you're working towards a bigger goal. So working with people is the road to success here. Working as a team with your friend, with your tribe is important. You have an important role to play socially, and if not to a whole set of people, but to your close friends, you have an important role to play. A Leo elevates the group, brings that verve, that fire that needs to get people excited about something, excited about a future. But the price is always that a Leo's calendar is always full of other people's tasks and priorities. So be careful of not losing focus on your own goals when you're doing. It's important to take people along, but you are the one with a vision. You are the one with a larger goal in mind. So try to create that right boundary that is needed for you to give your attention to your goals, to create the right impact on a group and a social cause or a friend. You need to have those healthy boundaries. Neptune blurs our boundaries with others, and some unfair give and take is always involved with others when that happens, and it can almost feel like you have a karmic duty to others, because of which your calendar is full of other people's priorities. Mars wants to go after your personal goals, and Neptune, on the other hand, is opening the floodgates to others. Now, these two energies are what you might be experiencing a conflict on, and it's a hurdle that needs to be crossed for you to have that new start. You might feel that you're not able to have a fresh start in your vision, or just not able to open up to new connections because of your obligations to the past or obligations to others. Make friends. Stand up for the underdog, take a stance on social issues, fight for your friends, but know your natural boundaries, which were encroached upon in the past, and learn from that encroachment that has happened in the past. Every person has their karma. Trying to be a savior of everybody can interrupt their own karma. Neptune is trying to open you up to a higher form of love, of intimacy, of trusting and sharing, so it has reduced your boundaries with others. But at the same time, it is also a teacher. It teaches us the higher octave of love. It's trying to dissolve our old patterns of togetherness and the blind partnerships. And that happens sometimes through being cheated on, being taken advantage of sometimes in joint situations, especially financially. And with Neptune being here since 2011, you might have experienced some of those incidents where your boundaries were unfairly encroached upon in the past. And through those experiences, Neptune is a very different kind of teacher. It teaches us those boundaries, but it teaches us through disillusionment. So we have to learn from it. We have to learn from the past. We have to learn about those healthy boundaries. Every person, as I said, has their own karma. Don't forget lessons of the past, not to be jaded by them, not to be persuaded to not go out and interact with others, just the opposite. Neptune is trying to open you up to a higher form of intimacy, of trust with and trust with others. So it's trying to teach you to have longer lasting relationships without those confusions and overhangs. No one wants to be a martyr. It's trying to make sure that you don't become one. But at the same time, no one wants to be loved by a martyr as well. So, martyrhood is something that Neptune over here, especially in financial matters, there's need for financial clarity in joint situations. The give and take needs to be fair there. And some financial confusion might exist at this point in time. You might be experiencing that right now with this aspect. Some financial confusion on what you are worth or deserve to be paid for your services, on a loan or a joint financial matter or a tax matter or a past financial issue or inheritance matter, a will matter, matter of insurance. So these joint finances where two people are involved, or more than one person is involved, or there is a person who is a benefactor in some ways, there's a confusion around that. And that could be coming in the way to have a new start in your financial gains and visions for the future. It may not even be the current financial confusion. It could be in the past that you've had an experience with another person, and that's playing out in your mind as you try to go into a new financial venture. And it could be a sore point in a friendship or with an elder brother. This tension, while might be real, but the blockage is largely psychological and within you. This is a square aspect. So, this aspect is playing out within us. We have to overcome our own resistance here. Neptune is not letting you clearly ask for your fair share or be open about the give and take. And that is our own inner limitation. Why we cannot trust someone in a joint financial matters? Because maybe we don't want to openly discuss it, don't want to establish those boundaries clearly sometimes. Don't mix love, friendship, relationships, and finances. Also, avoid mixing sex and friendship if that's the case, because this is also the house of sex and intimacy where some confusion is there. It could be a person who you want to go into business with, or who's your friend, or who is an influential person, and there is a sexual undercurrent. And these two things don't mix. Don't mix love, friendship, relationship, sex, and finances. On a much broader scale, you have an elevated view of the society and what impact you want to create on others. But the people and their complexes are very much part of that very society you're trying to elevate or have a vision for. So when we go into spiritual themes, or we sort of think of doing something for the society, we want to create something for the society. It could be something creative that you're looking to create for others. It could be something very, influential that you're trying to create. You're trying to influence the masses or influence the people, or just have a more positive relationships with others. But about the same others, about the same society, we have a mindset about their complexes. People come with their warts and their issues. People don't come without them. We might have highly charged emotions about people, their complexes, their darkness, and that can inhibit the ease with which we can relate to society, to friends, to media, to network, and it will impact our social influence. Because finally, all of that does play out and show up. If there's a past loss that we are carrying, a past deceit we are carrying, if a past complex about somebody else we are carrying within us, it reduces our impact in our voice to others. It reduces how much depth we go into in relationships. If we have been burned in the past in some ways, or we lowered our boundaries way too much and then we were cheated on by somebody, that carries forward in our work, in our forward relationships, in our new friendships, in our new connections as well. And especially if you're trying to go into a new fraternity, or you're trying to create benefit from society, if you're trying to go into a lot of connections, a lot of friendships, it can still play up in your mind. It can still play out, those complexes can still play out in the mind, and that might be a hurdle you need to overcome. Loving people, warts and all, is a tall ask. It's a very tall ask. But you have to look at that past as a teaching, as a learning, and move on, giving it selflessly and moving forward. Be the bigger person and move on. Our own deep seated complexes or our past experiences can come in the way right now, but you clearly want to overcome that. So you can create the social change, you can create the community impact, you can create the new beginning in your friendship and social sector, and that's a source of growth and gains for you. With North Node over here, the road to success is through people, is through connections, is through networking, is through speaking to people, is through making a lot of these light-hearted friends, is through those connections, multiple connections, and the fan base, or being on social media, or having those connections that you used to before all of those things went down. Start fresh. Start fresh. But remember, this week, financial matters are very confusing right now. Don't go overboard in helping out financially somebody. You might find yourself on the short end of the things when the fog clears. So when Mars and Neptune square is playing out, we don't decide on financial matters. We don't agree on investments. We try to hold off if possible to get clarity. If you have planets around 22 degree of 22 degree of Leo. So if you have Leo rising, sun or moon, if you're a Leo sun born around 15th of August, Neptune is making a hard aspect right now with you. What does that mean? It means that our boundaries are especially lower when it comes to other people. So you want to be financially very careful at this moment, especially when it comes to joint finances related to loans, tax matters, inheritance matters, will matters, you want to be a little bit careful. Get a business manager, somebody else who you trust, maybe, or maybe don't do that and just be careful yourself to look at it in a more depth, in a more deep fashion. Um, it, it's also related to healing. Neptune is asking us to release the fear of loss in some ways. It's possible that in the past, Neptune is a healer in itself because it heals through love. So it's possible that somebody is gone or something is gone and you need to just heal a little bit from it so you can be your bright self forward. And this is a bright start. It's a new start in your social connection. It could be a fated new friendship that you might be entering into, a new social group that you need to get to. But there are some complexes behind the surface just this week and temporarily that you need to deal with before that new start can manifest, so you can go and launch your platform, so you can launch yourself to the society, so you can be socially active in the right fashion, in the way that you want to, giving yourself more freely, giving yourself more openly, giving yourself in a more fun fashion, light-hearted fashion that Leos normally give to everybody. So start fresh, but remember, financial matters right now are confusing, and there is a hurdle we need to cross of a past gone by that we need to overcome to move forward. So that's what I have for you, Leo, and I'll see you in the next video now. Thank you.